Baker Mayfield has proven to be once again the ultimate successful underdog. A lot of people thought Baker Mayfield as a starting quarterback was going to be an afterthought when he landed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. People said, oh, look at the New Orleans Saints, how talented they are. The Falcons sure are interesting. Oh, the Panthers, they drafted Bryce Young. Bryce Young is going to be a way better NFL starting quarterback than Baker Mayfield. Caleb Williams is potentially going to be the Buccaneers quarterback this next upcoming season. They're going to be so bad. Kyle Trask should maybe start over Baker Mayfield. All this baloney, joni, bull jive. Listen, people, Baker Mayfield is a legitimate NFL starting quarterback. He deserves your respect. This is a guy that was a Heisman Trophy winner in college. And I understand the Heisman Trophy winners in college don't always translate to the NFL. I'm talking to you, Johnny Manziel. Yes, I am. But Baker Mayfield had a heck of a resume at Oklahoma, and in Cleveland had some success. Won a playoff game in Cleveland. And it's so great to see him succeeding with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because Baker Mayfield, like I said, once again, he continues to thrive as an underdog. Baker Mayfield has been everything and more that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could have asked for up to this point. He's been a great leader. He's brought some juice to the franchise. He's helped uplift the locker room and given these guys hope. He threw for over 4,000 passing yards this season, had almost 30 touchdowns total on the year. And the run game hasn't really been there for the Buccaneers, so they've really had to rely on Baker to make some high-level throws and truly be that franchise quarterback that not only can manage the game, but also make some big plays down the field when needed. The question with Baker Mayfield was, can Baker Mayfield go above and beyond the plays that are being called for him? Now, I'm not going to put Baker Mayfield in the category with a guy like C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to put him in that category. But I think that we've seen legitimate growth from Baker Mayfield as a quarterback. Baker Mayfield knows his limitations and he knows his strengths. And I think he's really, really just playing with that confidence and just letting it rip. He has nothing to lose. Because if he fails in Tampa Bay, he's probably out of a starting quarterback job. And if he succeeds, then it's great. He's going to get more money in his pocket eventually and continue to play football at a high level, But we've seen Baker Mayfield at times this year go above and beyond the plays being called and actually elevate his team when he's needed to. And let me just be the first to say, I don't think it's a consensus that the Cleveland Browns made a mistake moving on from Baker Mayfield because I don't know how things would have turned out if Baker would have continued to stay in Cleveland. And looking at a prime Deshaun Watson in Houston compared to what Baker Mayfield was in Cleveland, and even going back to their college days, Deshaun Watson at Clemson, Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma, most NFL general managers were going to take Deshaun Watson, no doubt about it, even if there were off-the-field issues. You make that trade, you take that risk. And I don't think Deshaun Watson's story is necessarily done in Cleveland, but I'm just going to ask the question for the audience right here. What if the Browns kept Baker Mayfield around in Cleveland? What if he stayed in Cleveland? Do you think he could have some success? Would he still have been good? I'm not going to rule out the potential of that happening because Baker would have been on kind of a lower level contract as far as the financial situation in Cleveland. A lot better than Deshaun. And it just seemed like a lot of guys in that locker room liked Baker. And, they probably bailed on him from time to time. But I don't know. I wouldn't have ruled out the Cleveland Browns still being a functional football team eventually if Baker Mayfield, was given the chance to kind of bounce back from his struggles and his injuries in Cleveland. Because honestly, Baker played through injury in Cleveland and as a result didn't play very well. But I don't think Baker necessarily was the biggest issue in Cleveland. I think that it was just one of those things where, maybe the play calling with Stefanski didn't quite click and Baker was battling through injuries and he just wasn't the player that we thought he was going to be at that time. But there was reason to believe Baker could have bounced back. Now, the one question Baker Mayfield still has to answer is, can I actually legitimately succeed with expectations weighing on me? Because the Buccaneers going into Detroit, this upcoming week in the playoffs. And I think the Lions are going to probably win because now the spotlight is on the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. Okay, we see you, Baker. You beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs in a Buccaneers uniform. Now what are you going to do on the road in Detroit? So I think as time goes on, I love to see Baker Mayfield in bigger spots and how he's going to handle, pressure and adversity. But, I mean, Baker Mayfield's an incredible underdog story. This is a guy that had to walk on at Texas Tech, had to walk on at Oklahoma, was doubted as a first overall pick in the NFL, won Cleveland a playoff game. Cleveland bails on him. He goes to Carolina, doesn't quite work out, goes to the Rams to kind of revive his job status in the NFL, put some good tape on display for NFL teams, and he goes to the Buccaneers, and a lot of people thought he was going to fail, and he has not failed so far. And I think Baker Mayfield, if he continues to play well, he could be the Buccaneers franchise quarterback for years to come. That's how I feel about Baker. And Baker Mayfield is the ultimate underdog story, especially in the game of football. A lot of people can learn from him, and it's a great thing to see.